You're a rebel, getting into trouble. You are kinda like a fire, like a fire, like a fire. Unpredictable, so original. You are never backing down, backing down, backing down. That's what I like about you. So dangerous, I get this rush when I'm with you. I go all in to lose or win. Build things up to knock 'em down. It's the way we keep our high, moving like a hurricane. There will come a time for when we can wash away your sins, settle down, but until then, we're like a hurricane. You're so different, kind of ignorant. You don't care what people say, people say, people say. I'm going crazy for you, baby. Don't know how you're making me feel this way. What can I say? That's what I like about you. So dangerous.
Hi there. Welcome to what's this? This is drama. Whoops, what is it? Where are we? We're drama C. Drama C, all in a day's work. Films about people working. And my name is Anita Lanier. I am the co-founder and drama programmer for the Damn Short Film Festival. And welcome, welcome. Hi, Scott.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. It's just us tonight, but that is a-okay. So
That's fine, yeah.
yeah, looking forward to hearing about your wonderful work with The Girls Are Strong Here.
Oh.
And I was wondering with the Girls Are Strong Here, it bounced around in categories. You know, it's like, well, it was in international for a little while, then it was elsewhere for a little while, and finally I put together a program where it's about people doing jobs, people at work, things that happen while you're at work.
Yeah.
But I wonder about what was the impetus for you to tell this particular story?
Oh, let's see. I guess sort of I hadn't made a short film in a while. I did a short film in grad school that did pretty well and got like nominated for a Student Academy Award and things like that, which was great. But and I kind of gone off and done some other work in television and things like that. And I kind of wanted to get back to actually making something that was like my own versus kind of hired for things and stuff like that. So I guess I came up with the story. I wanted to do something that I felt like around that time there was things going on with the Syrian civil war and people being and there's also some immigration talk and things like that. And I was interested in those topics and sort of wanted to craft something that was a little bit around that, but also it's actually based on a larger sort of feature script. And I wanted to do something that was in the feature script. The mother and daughter characters are the stars of that. And I wanted to do something that was kind of related to that feature, but not actually that feature. And there was a small sequence in the feature that is a little bit of what the short film is. So I sort of took some inspiration from that, combined it with sort of what was going on, and then wrote the script from there. Yeah.
Yeah. How was it the casting of? Where was it filmed? What city?
We shot in Boise, Idaho.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in New York. I live in New York City, but It won the script won a couple of screenwriting awards,
Hmm.
and one of them was from the Sun Valley Film Festival in Sun Valley, Idaho, and that came with like a $5,000 production grant.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah. So once but the one of the stipulations for the grant was that it had to be shot in Boise or in Idaho. I'd never been to Idaho. I'm reasonably proud to say I've been to, I don't know what, maybe 44 of our states or
Hmm.
so. So, but I hadn't been to Idaho before, but that's where they needed to shoot it as part of the grant. So I got hooked up with a producer there in Boise, and we started looking for locations and ended up shooting it there. Yeah.
Where did you find your lead actor? He was outstanding. I mean, he just it just like strong
Yeah.
actor. Never seen him before, or at least I don't think I have, unless. But
Yeah.
how was casting for that film?
Yeah. Casting was a little bit of a thing, I guess. I mean, I wanted, I really, for the lead role, for his role, for the Saeed role, I really wanted someone who, a lot of times you'll see, folks from who are portrayed as being from, like, on film, who are portrayed as being from Syria or Lebanon or that area of the Middle East. A lot of times they're played by people who are actually, sort of Pakistani or Iranian or
Hmm.
that sort of thing. So I really wanted someone who was from a Levantan Arabic, like from that region,
Hmm.
and especially with the specifics of the dialect there and everything. So I tried to sort of initially just sort of went through some standard casting stuff in New York backstage and trying to link up with some friends I knew and things like that as far as finding someone. And I couldn't really find anyone. So then, honestly, I went to graduate acting film school websites to look for their the showcases they usually do for their graduates, coming out of grad acting school. And I just dug around on all those websites and found Adrian, who ultimately ended up playing Saeed. I found him in like a little showcase from the University of Washington's graduate acting program.
Hmm.
And I saw some footage of him in that showcase, and a small, very small, like student little film he'd done. And I just liked, I thought he was a really good actor, and I liked his look for it, and he spoke Arabic fluently.
There you
So,
go. Yeah.
and his parents are originally, I believe, Palestinian. So he was, he had some familiarity with that area, even though, he grew up in the U.S. And so, he was there was one or two other people, but it was really like him. As soon as I reached out to him via email. I said, "Would you audition for this role?" He was like, "Oh, okay." And I did that, and he sent me some tape, and he was great. And I think I think he really holds the film together. I mean, he's
He
very
does.
empathetic. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
very empathetic and very just good. I mean, he's great. This was his first film, really.
Hmm.
And so it was digging. It wasn't sort of the traditional
Hmm.
casting process. It was like digging around and trying to find someone. And if I may mention too, um, also the girl in the film, also, she was the only one we cast local. Everybody else came from outside Boise. She was actually in Boise, and really, I mean, she was also, I believe, great too.
She was good. Yeah.
And
The white, which one? The young girl
the young girl,
the
yeah,
young girl yeah.
yeah, and
Right.
but she was local. We found her in Boise. I was worried about that role a bit too, but yeah,
Hmm.
Adrian was great. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah. And so you did not write the script. You used the script won a prize at this festival,
Yeah.
and then how do you do that? Do you option
Oh,
it? Do you just yeah, I don't know how any of this works.
no, that's okay. I did write the script,
You
actually. No,
wrote
I
the
wrote.
script
Yeah,
and it wrote
yeah,
and you had to, oh, okay.
yeah, yeah.
So in writing the script, and okay, so you had a bigger idea of wanting to write about the fallout from the war in Syria, because
Yeah,
it's yeah.
like I was mentioning before, there was a feature I'd written that kind of had
Right.
some
Hmm.
immigrant angle, and I sort of took some aspects of that feature and combined it with kind of what was going on. I wrote the script probably 2016. I don't know, a while, 2017, a
Okay.
while ago.
Yeah.
So it took a little while for it to get sort of made, but but I sent it around to some screenwriting contests and short film screenwriting contests, and it won maybe 3 of them, I guess. And the one that Sun Valley one was the one that came with the grant. So once
Okay.
there was a little bit of money, I was like, okay, well, I guess we'll go make this, which was exciting. Yeah.
So so you live in New York and you put together your crew once you got to Boise, or did you take people from New York with you? Did you just How did you put together your crew?
Yeah, the film festival, the Sun Valley Film Festival, where the grant came from, hooked me up with a producer, Celeste Matika in Boise. She was a local producer who used to live in San Francisco and in New York, but she'd been living there for a little while in Boise, and she came on board and did a fantastic job as far as having more of those local connections to people who. There's a small film community in Boise, a small good one. And so I really drew on her resources, and she was great as far as, helping us put all that together. I went out one time to sort of visit for like a few days just to kind of get the lay of the land, and then did a little location scouting, and then went back out maybe 10 days before we started shooting. So yeah, that's how that happened. Yeah.
Okay.
But
Were there any?
Everybody was local pretty much, except for the actors. Sorry.
Wow. And yeah, where did the wife, Saeed's wife, how did you find her? And
Oh yeah. Similar kind of thing, it was really, I put out some feelers with backstage and some other things in terms of casting, and we got not too many submissions, but she was one of them. And she was really good, Katrina, and she really, I thought, did a great job. And she was also very instrumental in terms of, I'd written the script in English, but there was, significant parts that were in Arabic. And she was really crucial in terms of helping translate that and really sort of get the feel of it and all that kind of thing. I had the good fortune of screening sort of an early cut for an all Arabic speaking audience, which was a little nerve wracking because I don't speak Arabic. But she did a great job, and that audience really liked it, and I was like, this all works, makes sense, and of course, Katrina speaks fluent Arabic, so that wasn't a problem. But she was great, and so was Adrian too, as far as like. There's a lot of nuance, obviously, in language, and like things don't translate. Arabic and English don't translate super well in terms of a literal way. There's a lot of like the way you say things and how you say things, and they were both really great as far as the spirit of what I wanted in English, like making sure that was coming across in Arabic. Great, I couldn't have done that without them, obviously.
Okay. And when you were going through the process of writing the script, did it go through a bunch of different drafts? Was it, you said it was part of a larger feature size script, and then you made it into a smaller story for this. How was that process? Do you have people you bounce ideas off of? Do you have, I don't know, how does this work for you?
Yeah. Yeah, I went through a lot of drafts in terms of trying to get it right. The version that won that grant is quite different than what the film is actually. So there was even much rewriting after that a little bit. There was some things in the original one that I felt were a little inert dramatically, so I wanted to punch some things up. So, but yeah, no, I definitely I had some writers group friends in New York that mostly people I knew from Columbia's grad film school. So they read drafts a bit and helped me sort of focus it and make it better. And yeah, no, it went through a lot, probably 5-10 drafts, and like I said, it was loosely inspired by the feature, but once I sort of started writing the short, it kind of became its own thing, pretty independent of that,
Yeah. And when you, so with this be like the beginning or the middle or the end of your larger feature?
Oh, this would actually be, so the feature
Like a
is called, yeah, the feature is called Slipstream. It's about a mother-daughter on a cross-country sort of trip.
Mhm,
So the mother and daughter characters in the short are actually the main characters in the feature.
mhm.
And there's a particular moment where their car breaks down and they
Oh,
have
I
to kind of,
see.
yeah, they have to kind of spend the night at this, or in this, at this gas station service shop. So I took like that incident in the feature
Mhm.
and was like, okay, I think this is an interesting part of the feature. Maybe it can make so it felt like something I
Okay.
can make a short out of, you know. And so then
Okay. Yeah.
I took that, and then it changed pretty significantly in terms of the characters involved and how it was working. But it's sort of the initial impetus was that moment or scene in the feature where that happened.
And then when you changed it, so once you were filming, was there anything that additionally that you had to let go that was hard to let go of? I mean, because it's what is it? It's about 18 minutes long.
Yeah, 56, 16 with credits, I think.
16 minutes. So that's a lot of story, a lot of backstory, a lot of characters in a really small period of time. And it makes sense, you know, it makes sense the first time through in watching it. And so I imagine there was lots of steps in tightening it up. Was there anything you had to let go of that in the process, or anything that just I don't know,
Yeah.
any serendipitous moments that you
Um,
care to
yeah.
share about this?
The I would say, you know, I was trying to really sort of what I was trying to do, whether it's successful or not, that's not for me to say, but what I was trying to do is you know, sort of really give every character a pretty decent arc, you know.
Mhm,
There's sort of even the sort of the bad guy who comes in there in the middle, even within the context of just that scene, that he kind of has an arc in that scene.
mhm,
And so I feel like the only, and I feel like ultimately that it pretty much, I managed to, I think, pull that off with most of the characters except for Mona, the mother. I had to make some compromises and some sacrifices towards the end in terms of how the film ends,
mhm,
in terms of her arc, that
mhm.
that I'm 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 sad about.
Like, what
um,
it
and with
seems like there's a possibility she might go back to the evil boyfriend,
you know,
or
just that I don't feel like her arc closes out.
Mhm,
And I wanted to try to achieve that, and I think I don't think I did. Which is, you know, which is fine. I mean, that's the nature of art, you know. It's like
mhm.
it's imperfection in many
It's okay
ways.
to have
So
a little ambiguity.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I think I would have liked to do a little bit more there to with that character at the end. I don't feel like I properly served
Mhm.
the character as well as I could have in retrospect. But you know, next time around I'll have.
Huh. So it sounds like it started a little bit like as like a road trip movie, or for the mother and the daughter that were escaping an abusive situation.
Yeah.
And then you had this issue in Syria that also kind of came to take over. What kind of stories do you like to tell? Do you want to tell in your filmmaking? That this was something that was yours? Is it more tying into to things that are a human element of an international incident that we read about, or uh
Yeah. I mean, I think you know, I do like to tell stories that have some zeitgeist in a way, you know, in the sense of like that it feels current, you know.
Mhm,
You know, obviously over the last year, you know, in this, you know, this is obviously we're dealing with a pandemic and whatnot. So you know, certainly, you know, this doesn't feel like a zeitgeisty film as much now,
mhm,
you know, as it would have maybe, you know, a year or two ago. But you know, the nature of the filmmaking process is sometimes a little long, so sometimes it's
mhm,
hard to kind of do that. So you know, ultimately, the story has to work independent of that, ideally, because you don't really know what the world is going to be like when the film comes out. Um, so so as far as my own work, it sort of depends. You know, sometimes I do things that are, I just sort of tend to have ideas, and I wouldn't say I'm super genre specific. The first short I did was called The Assassin, about a guy who's an assistant to an assassin and wants to be an assassin himself, and makes an error that causes some problems, and that's more of like a dark comedy versus this, which is more of a drama. Yeah. So it's more like I have an idea, and wherever that idea sort of takes me, I guess.
How are you working now? Are you working mostly on writing? What do you do when you're not making short films?
Yeah. What do? I teach screenwriting and TV writing. I teach in I teach at a couple places. I sort of my primary teaching gigs are at in the Killer Films Stony Brook MFA program in New York City, and then I also teach at the University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia. I teach screenwriting there and TV writing there, and also screenwriting and TV writing in the Stony Brook grad program. So that's the primary gig when I'm not making movies. Yeah.
Now, is your teaching then all online right now, or are you able to get back to live classes?
It's all online right now. It'll certainly be online through the end of this semester. It might. People are hoping in the fall that things will change. We will see.
Yeah. Yeah. How are you feeling then about the future of film education?
I feel.
What are you thinking about it?
Yeah, I feel pretty good. I mean, I think there's. I certainly am continually inspired by my students who, all the time will come up with ideas that I'm like, geez, that's a good idea. Geez, why didn't I come up with that idea? So I think it's in good hands in terms of the folks that I feel like I'm teaching and imparting hopefully some knowledge to. And it's just such a growing business now, especially probably especially in the television area. But just the amount of money and resources spent on content, it just feels like it's only going to get bigger and is a good field to go into. I think there's also just so much more access to decent equipment, and an ability. I mean, your iPhone is the camera on your iPhone 10 years ago would have been like, amazing. And it's still, even right now is a great camera. I mean, people shoot stuff on their iPhones that are phenomenal. And so I feel like, the barrier to entry is much lower than it's ever been in a lot of ways. So I think that's great as far as people having decent resources to make something, and then it's just your imagination and, and some of the practical resources you might have,
Yeah. Since you're working with a lot of young people, I guess in your MFA program, is there something I kind of wonder if do they have the same film vocabulary that you had in school? I mean, because it's a continuum, right? There's film history, there's all sorts of old stuff. There's no shortage of access to old films and older movie making, but is there any I don't know, influences you wish you saw more of and less of, respectively?
In terms of
in terms of good storytelling, in terms of coming up with I don't know, with quality entertainment.
Yeah. But as far as, do you mean in terms of like what their knowledge of in terms of like
exactly.
what they know? Or okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, it depends really. Like some people come in knowing a lot, not a lot of movies, that kind of thing. But there's definitely things where I'll mention a film that I might think is seminal, or like I would be like, wow, have you not seen this film? But so there are certainly gaps, but there's also certainly I feel like film, even though it's a relatively young medium, we kind of crossed the threshold maybe. Like now, like 25 years ago, where like 25 years ago, you could kind of pretty much almost see every maybe film that was of some significance or renowned in film history. And now I feel like we've gotten to the point of where you can't really, there's you're gonna miss great films all the time just because there's so much, and
Right.
there are so many. And I think you know, a good example would be like, you know, like I still hold up and teach Thelma and Louise, you know, as a great film. And that's a film that a lot of them have never seen, and a lot of them don't know. And it is nice actually when they watch it, because actually, especially the female students really are like, oh my God, this film's amazing. Like I didn't even know this existed.
Yeah.
And so it's heartening when you can show them something that in a film like that, which still feels sort of cutting edge, which is in some ways a shame, right?
Well, you know,
but yeah.
yeah, well, there's no such thing as an old film, just a film you haven't seen yet, right?
Right. For sure. Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I noticed that when I want to revisit old films, you know, or older films. I mean, like, God, I hate to think of Thelma and Louise as an old film, but I guess it is old. That was
1991.
30,
I know. It feels
almost
I know.
30 years.
Yeah.
30 years. Yeah. It's just, it's actually kind of tricky to find some of these films. You know, sometimes I'll have a film on my mind and I'll look for it. It's like, wow, I can't rent it anywhere. I'm going to have to buy it off of eBay. I don't think so. You know, it's almost like with digitizing the, you know, film libraries, that there's that I think I'm concerned that some films might disappear, you know?
Yeah. There's been a big move though. I mean, the situation with online teaching and coronavirus, like, all these schools, including ones I've involved with and worked for, have had to really, like, suddenly it's like you need to have all these movies digitally available, like a lot of for classes and things like that. So you've seen a lot of, I mean, there's a big push to kind of get everything digitized to some degree. And I think UCLA has a pretty significant preservation program that's trying to do that. But yeah, no, there's definitely movies. There's still a film that I watched in grad school called Yellow Earth, that I've really never been able to find a decent copy of out there in the world. That's a Chinese film, but yeah, no, there's definitely films that are I think not as available as they should be, I would say.
Yeah. So what are some of the trends that you see coming in the future that you're excited about, and ones that you are less excited about?
Oh, geez. That's a big question. I guess, let's see. I think the diversity in the storytelling is really becoming quite interesting. You know, I think there's just a lot of stuff that I think is able to get on the air now that you're able to see and get made, that just, in the quest for kind of, a large, big audience, you know, sometimes things that are maybe a little more niche get lost, and there's just so many outlets now. You're seeing a real, I think, just an explosion in that, in terms of just so many different things for so many different audiences, which is great. You know, I think I love watching so much stuff that I feel like wouldn't have gotten made, or had a hard time getting made 10, 15, 20 years ago. So I think that's amazing. And I think that's really the future in a lot of ways. And then, you know, I am a bit of a, I guess, a traditionalist when it comes to storytelling and like how a story sort of works. So sometimes I feel like there's Hollywood films sometimes, you know, so there's not as much attention paid to the script and the story as I feel like maybe there could be or should be at times. And
they're hard to watch sometimes. You know, I mean, it's just like, it's hard to watch these films. They're not human scale. You know, sometimes if it's a big monster, he like changes scale, like he's the wrong size and different.
They'll be like, well, I think out of it, I'm like, I do
continuity issues. Yeah.
But and also just like, I think, you know, of my little short, and I'm like, you know, I did 12 drafts of that script, and then, you know, sometimes you watch a movie, you know, a big budget movie, and you're like, well, how many drafts of the script did you do? Like, what were you actually, was there
right,
was there enough attention paid to the story and the characters? And so sometimes I feel like that can get lost in the scale sometimes of filmmaking. You know, it's obviously those are big films that are reaching a big audience, and in many ways quite good. But I think sometimes the story gets subverted for everything else at times, and characters sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it can be hard to watch. So that's why I love these short films. I mean, I wish there was another outlet besides film festivals, at least being online. It hopefully will reach people, and maybe this will, fill some demand so that the short films don't have such a short shelf life.
Yeah. I mean, I think you are seeing some show up. I mean, I know Amazon and Netflix sometimes you'll see short films show up there, and
that's true. That's true.
I think some of the places are a little bit more open. If you want to like make the effort, you got to kind of reach out to them and figure out how to get your film on the platform. But yeah, it would be great if there was a little more access, and you'd think they'd be something folks want to watch with the supposedly limited attention span of people these days. So they're shorter.
I don't know, man. If people are listening to 3-hour podcasts, their attention span might not be so short. I mean, I think maybe it's and then even then there's nothing to look at. And also you think about the law with television. I mean, talent is in television, the great storytelling, and these are very, very long story arcs and character arcs that can go on. I mean, they're like Russian novel length, really. When that's true. When it gets right down to it, they kind of replace novels with that. These huge storylines. In a really great way. So I feel like the storytelling's there, but for cinema, I mean, it's, being in a theater with other people is really special. And I'm just, what are your thoughts about some of the technologies that might be available? I mean, like going to the feelies, like in Brave New World, where you feel the characters' emotions. Do you see anything like that coming in, or like we're all going to be in a big holodeck or something? What?
Yeah, I guess, virtual reality and VR and all that is, I mean, I know some things about it. I've looked into some aspects of it, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Do we enter into, what's that movie? Is Sleep Dealer or The Machinist, where like there are people who are like workers sort of operating remotely, like working in a factory, but like they're actually at home or in some other building. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, it'll be interesting. I mean, I think you always, I feel like, I don't know, like I do feel like theaters are probably going to have to kind of up their game a little bit in terms of, like the experience to kind of start to compete, as screens get bigger and bigger at home. I mean, obviously you have things like IMAX and stuff like that. I don't know if, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I think it's certainly, if movie theaters can kind of come back from this in a significant way, it'll be tricky.
In the simple communal, just the communal experience of being with everybody in one theater, that's something that I think most of us really miss. Yeah,
I think so for sure. I mean, I think there will definitely be some that will occur, and that will I think always be in existence. It just depends on, it might be a smaller thing, might be a more niche thing, perhaps. I mean, we'll see. I don't know. But I don't know. I think it'll all come back in some capacity,
I hope so. I really miss the days of art theaters when I'd like save those big posters which have all the little pictures and the entire schedule. Like all of November would be on one side, all of December would be on the other side, and I'd have like 6 of these sheets like on the refrigerator with the magnets.
Yeah,
and those days are over.
Yeah, Film Forum in New York. Film Forum in New York sends out, when you're a member there, they send out this sheet that you unfold and it has all the movies. It's quite cool.
Yeah. So what's next for you? What do you have in the hopper?
Let's see. There's a few projects I'm writing. There are various stages of we'll see, like happening, not happening. And then I think for the first time I'm doing another short this summer. That is written by someone else, actually, a former student, that I really liked her script. So I think that's the plan for this summer, is to shoot that. And then after that, I really have to make a feature. I haven't done that yet. So
good.
So then we'll see what that. I have a few ideas, but we'll see with that.
Yeah. And as an instructor, that I've been an instructor too, and it's not a film, but in a different type of graduate program. It can be it can be demanding. So what are some of the ways that you take care of yourself, that you have creative, that you still have your own creativity flowing, that you don't abandon that in the interest of being, you know, good at your teaching jobs, you know?
Yeah.
How do you strike that balance? Because that's a real thing for like probably everybody who
Yeah.
has a film in this festival and beyond. How do you
Yeah,
do that?
no, for sure. I would say I not terribly well all the time. I think yeah, I mean it's a challenge. I mean, I feel like I really have to really have to carve out, time to kind of focus on my stuff. And my creative stuff. So usually the key for me is usually just kind of getting ahead and having a good understanding of what I need to be doing from a professor sort of point of view. Like, okay, what are we doing this week? Oh yeah, we're doing this. Okay. And getting all that kind of set up so my mind is sort of more free to.
So routines, having the routines in place.
Routine and habit helps a lot. That's definitely, at least for me, it relieves the anxiety of being like, oh, am I ready for my classes, when I'm like, oh yeah, right. Okay. Now I'm ahead of things. I know what we're doing. Cool. Okay. I can focus on some other aspect. And then, trying to also carve out larger periods of times, which tends to happen like end of May, beginning of June, the holiday break, like mid-December to like mid-January. Like those are times that are a little bit longer where I can maybe focus a little more specifically on a bigger project. It's tough, but I'm doing my best with it, I guess.
Good. That's good. That's good. Yeah. I'd like to see that. So let's see. Last question. I don't have any questions written down, so I'm just kind of going with.
It's very good.
With
It seems like you have plenty of questions written down.
They're all in my head.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Again, I keep thinking of the ones that we're not supposed to ask. So, so do you have any favorite lowbrow stuff that you like? What's your guilty pleasure in terms of lowbrow films?
Well, I think I'd probably have to go into like
your comfort film. What's your comfort film? Like the film you watch when you're out of sorts. What is a comfort? What is a film that's like? I mean, but I like let's see. Or
the thing that popped in my mind was A Fish Called Wanda.
Oh, okay. So something you just like. So
that's like I like goof. I like the goof, like the sort of absurdist, like goofy things. Like I really like. I love absurdity. So anything that's like kind of in that vein. I mean, obviously there's highbrow ones, Death of Stalin or something like that, that are absurdist, but sort of, highbrow. As far as like lower brow, I'd probably have to get into like, my partner is a fan of The Bachelor, and so I definitely I'll get sucked into that and have a lot of opinions about Bachelor or The Bachelorette, which of course is a TV show. But that's definitely can become a little bit, I guess, some degree of comfort food. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that's like really that would be something I love that would be considered the other people. I'm sure there's something. I know there's something. I just can't think of it right now.
Yeah, I think we all have sort of films like we have to share with other people. Like, well, if you want to know me, you need to see this film, or this is where I go when I'm feeling disordered in the world, and I need to watch this film to feel better. Or the films have many uses, many applications.
For sure.
And what so for this, so in general, though, what are your biggest influences when you are for yourself as a filmmaker? Who do you like to turn to? Who are your author favorites?
I guess I feel like I'd be pretty. I'm just gonna be pretty. You know, boring. I don't know, like Coen Brothers. You know, I
Mhm.
mean, you know, obviously they're quite good. I like their, you know, like things. I guess I make an effort to see, like, you know, something their work. Obviously, I'm trying to see any. I know there's other ones. I'm trying to think who else is like of consequence for me. Um, Andrea Arnold's work, always very. I really like her work. I think a film called Fish Tank is sort of a masterpiece, really, a British
Hmm.
film. Let's see. Anybody else? I like. I'd say those two. Those two are the
Hmm.
main ones, I guess I would say. Yeah, the Coens,
Yeah.
Andrew Arnold. Yeah.
Yeah. And any I think we were talking about any trends you'd like to see go away and not come back in film?
Oh, uh, let's see. I guess the one though I would say the one shot in indie film that I feel like is persistently overused is the uh, behind somebody's hand as it goes through like grass. That's the following shot of like a hand that's going through like tall grass is like I feel like that's like a bit of an indie
Yeah.
trope that I could see
Yeah.
less of. Anytime you're waking up with an alarm clock going
Oh
off,
yeah, we see
like
a lot of that in for submissions. Like
yeah,
lots.
yes. I say
Never
that to my
start a
students.
film that way.
Yeah, I tell it
Yeah.
to my students. I'm like, don't like this. Have them wake up some other way, like the ceiling fan falls on their head, like not the alarm clock. Like we know that we've seen that many a time.
Yeah, it's morning. We know you'll get up. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, and it's I think keeping things tight. I think one of the things that I've learned in just looking at lots of short film submissions is just looking for the tight story, and I'm sure that all that editing comes at there's probably a little stab in the heart when something has to go away each time you shave it down, but make it tighter and tighter.
Yeah,
It wasn't until this that I ever realized that a 3 minute or a 10-minute film could be 9 minutes too long. You
yeah,
know, this
for sure. Yeah,
and getting it is really great to see just uh how much story people filmmakers put into these shorts, and that they spark the imagination, and it's good because I feel like the short films, in some ways they have more questions where you have to get to know these characters, care about these characters, and wonder what happened to them once it's all over. So that certainly your film does that.
great. Thank you. Yeah,
Yes.
no,
So
it's you really. Yeah. I mean, it's that you have a very limited amount of time to establish, the connection with the audience and hopefully some empathy and yeah, have them asking questions that you answer to some degree, but then of course, yeah, leaving them, wanting a little more is not bad.
absolutely. All right. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for submitting and for spending this time for the Q&A, Scott. It's been a
Great. Yeah.
pleasure.
Thank you.
And I hope that you'll take some time and explore all this I think it's 160 films
Yeah.
this festival.
For sure.
And,
Yeah. I watched all the ones in my program. So yeah. It
oh,
was great.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm
great.
gonna watch more. This weekend. Yeah.
Great. Wonderful. Well, you take care, and thank you so much. All
Thank
right.
you. You too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.